This is Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth. For competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty. For the Republic.
I'm the guy who, at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meatpackers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating news stories. Larry Klayman, special prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. We have a very important show. We have a great show because what we're really dealing with here is a crisis situation. It's been reported this week that the lawyers for President Trump are negotiating with Robert Mueller, the special counsel, and his corrupt left-wing staff to interview the president. Now, I thought this concept was dead, okay? If it goes forward, the president will be politically and legally dead because it's a perjury trap. Anything that the president says will be used against him. They'll match it up against statements from others who have come in before the grand jury and had twisted testimony to try to save their own skin, or through interviews. FBI Section 302 reports record interviews, and they're going to use that to either make a impeachment report, like Ken Starr did during the years of Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton when they were in office, or indict the president, one or both, but destroy him. And we know that whatever happens in that interview will be leaked to the public. It'll be distorted. And the purpose here of what Mueller's doing by continuing this investigation when there is absolutely no evidence of Russian collusion is to destroy the president before he even considers whether he's going to indict him or send an impeachment report. It doesn't matter because you're trying to take the president down. You're trying to destroy his reputation. You're trying to destroy the confidence of the American people, those who don't support him on the other side, get them to rise up, sometimes violently, like with Antifa. It's all part of an effort, not just to bring down the president, but frankly to destroy the country, to deconstruct it and bring it back in an image of the Washington establishment here in Washington, D.C., or even worse, the far left, which is financed by George Soros. Now, the lawyers of the president, Ty Cobb, Jay Sekulow, and John Dowd, they simply don't know what they're doing. But more important, they're establishment creatures. They sliver around the swamp of Washington, D.C. They want to keep their standing. They want to play the game the way things have always been played. And in the end, they'll make a boatload of money, and the president will be sold down the river in some sinking boat. So here's what I suggest. I've got a plan here, a 5-part plan that the president should implement. I hope that he will listen to me. You know, I do send him communications through various sources in the White House. I know that it gets through, but he's got to start exercising his own power and take control of his own fate, because these lawyers don't know what they're doing and don't want to know what they're doing. They know how to cash in the check here in Washington. They should be fired immediately. So that's number one. But number two, and you should get somebody from outside of Washington who doesn't have the ties that they do here with the establishment to represent him. But here's what needs to be done. The president, we know, has been illegally wiretapped, him and the people around him. Who did that? James Comey, the heads of the national security agencies, such as the CIA, the NSA, and the Director of National Intelligence. We're talking about John Brennan. We're talking about Clapper. We're talking about Samantha Powers, who was the White House advisor. Excuse me, I'm getting choked up just talking about this. And these people need to be held accountable. And, of course, they were doing it on behalf of President Obama and the people around Obama. So the president should do what I did back in 2014 and what I did even after that. And he should bring a lawsuit for these illegal wiretaps. He should actually sue them. And Mueller's part of it. He's part of this conspiracy. He was a former FBI director. He was actually doing illegal surveillance on Trump as well. So Trump would have what you call legal standing to sue them all, because we now know that this is what's been happening. As far as statute of limitations are concerned, that begins to run only when you learn of these things. And we only learned of these wiretaps, these illegal wiretaps, within the last year or so. So the president should bring a lawsuit, and he can use discovery to determine what Mueller is doing in-house. Let's hold Mueller, Comey, and the rest of these criminals accountable, and let's put their feet to the fire. He needs a lawyer that will do that. I will do that for him, but if he doesn't want to use Larry Klayman, that's his prerogative. He can hire anybody to do that, but you got to have guts. And most lawyers won't do that because they don't want to jeopardize their standing in the Washington, D.C. legal community or the legal communities around the country. You know, one of the things about lawyers, which I've always found, is that they protect themselves before they protect their clients. That's their first interest. They're obviously not very creative people, most of them. We're taught in law school to think in a particular way. And there are also people who want to have a high and, generally rich lifestyle, and they don't want to jeopardize the retaliation that doing something like that could cause. I mean, it could even cost you your life. I've had security people guarding me, for several years. And this is not something that you take lightly. It takes a very particular type of person to do it. I will do it for the president if he asks me. Secondly, he should order the National Security Agency to produce all the emails of Hillary Clinton, the 33,000 emails that were destroyed. They have backup. Why isn't anybody talking about this? The president sits on top of the NSA. He can get all that documentation out, and he'll see how Hillary Clinton is also involved in these efforts to bring him down, even before he was elected president. But more importantly, let's get the emails to bring about justice, because we can't have a dual system of justice here. The Clintons need to be held accountable, and the people that collaborated with them, their co-conspirators, held accountable as well. Third, he needs to fire Jeff Sessions and Rod Rosenstein. Jeff Sessions being the Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein being the Deputy Attorney General. These people are institutionally corrupt to the core. Sessions doesn't want to stick his neck out. We've talked about that because he himself is under investigation by Mueller for alleged Russian collusion. Let's be frank. He lied to the Senate during his confirmation hearings. He could have said, I had meetings with the Russian ambassador. It was no big deal. But why did he lie? Because he's such a little coward. Frankly, I don't want to use the P word, but that's what he is. And he doesn't want to stick his neck out. He's also under investigation by Mueller for participating in the firing of Comey, which also was quite legal, but the guy has no guts. Rosenstein, a holdover from Obama, former U.S. attorney for the District of Maryland, he's just your establishment hack, career person inside of the Justice Department, now a political appointee. But he doesn't want to risk anything because he's slivered around Washington for all of his career, and he doesn't want to make waves. And they think they have the president over a barrel because people are saying if you fire Sessions and you fire Rosenstein, this will cause an uproar and there'll be an impeachment. Well, you know what? Bring on the impeachment. Nobody can impeach the president now, but they can damage him with all this garbage that's been coming out. Now, fourth, here's what I recommend. Let's do the just thing. Let's pardon General Mike Flynn, who Comey admitted did not lie, yet Mueller indicted him. Mueller, the friend of Comey. Pardon him. The president just pardoned in the last day or so Kristen Saucier, the Navy pilot, Navy submarine officer who took a picture of a submarine, and he was sent away for many, many years, tried. Complete lack of any justice when you consider that Hillary Clinton violated national security with her unsecure server in a major way, resulting in the deaths of people at Benghazi, for which we have a lawsuit. And fifth, and most important, appoint me, Larry Klayman, special counsel. I'll get the job done. I'm not going to sit around twiddling my thumbs. I'm not going to kiss the rear end of the Washington establishment. I will not worry about the consequences to me or anybody else. If I have to risk my life to do it, I will do it. But something needs to be done short of violent revolution, which I do not advocate. But that's where we're headed. I will not lead it, but that's where we're headed if, in fact, we don't clean up this dual system of justice. And as a special prosecutor, I can go around the corrupt judges in the courthouse here in Washington, D.C., or any place else in this country, all of whom are political appointees in the federal context. They don't want to take any strong decisions, and we'll talk about that later. They basically got there because they kissed the rear end of the political establishment. That's how strongly I feel. So when they get in office, they take care of that political establishment, Democrat or Republican. But as special counsel, I can bring indictments. The judges are going to have to allow those indictments to continue, and it'll get in front of a jury. And this was the wisdom of our founding fathers, to have jury trials. This is why, in fact, the people are asked to judge, people of your peers asked to judge you, because I do have confidence in the jury system, and the American people are not as dumb as people are making us out to be. We're smart. We know what's going on. Go to my website, Freedom Watch's website at freedomwatchusa.org. freedomwatchusa.org. We need 100,000 signatures to basically force my being named special counsel. And we need it fast. And I want you to read the comments of the close to 20,000 people that have already signed that petition to see what they're saying about me, why we need a special counsel, why President Trump needs to take stronger action, why all these things need to be done. President Trump is a strong man. He's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. But the reality here is that he's willing to do what needs to be done. So he needs, number one, to fire his lawyers. He needs to take control. He needs to get lawyers that will take direction from him, lawyers who aren't sliding around like snakes in the Washington establishment to protect their own backsides. These lawyers predicted that this Mueller investigation would have been over by Thanksgiving. Then it was Christmas. Then it was January. They don't know what they're doing. They're completely incompetent, and they're compromised. They're corrupt. So, President Trump, my message to you, and I'm going to send him this radio show. I want you to take this radio show and tweet it to all your friends so they can retweet it, share it everywhere. I'm on Radio America. It's a great station, and you can also find it at radioamerica.com. But go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org. Get the word out. You know, it was the printing press during the American Revolution that really caused the colonialists to rise up. We need to use radio shows. We need to use the Internet. We need to use TV shows, appearances. We need to get the job done. And on this station, I tell it like it is. I don't sugarcoat it. Even Fox News is sugar-coated, okay, to some extent. But we need to get it out. So go to freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org, sign the petition, and retweet everything that I send you, because it's very important that we mobilize the American people. I'm going to be back. I want you to think about what I said, and we're going to continue with more horror stories from the capital of corruption, Washington, D.C.
Dangerous.
Don't care. Use the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad.
Special prosecutor.
Very bad.
Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
In past shows, I've talked a lot about my representation of Cliven Bundy and the assistance that I provided to his family. He's got these very brave sons, Ryan Bundy, Ammon Bundy, Mel Bundy, Dave Bundy, Carol Bundy. Cliven Bundy's wife is really a great person. This is a great family. And they stood up to the tyranny of the Obama administration, of the federal government. They said, no, it's enough. We're not going to roll over. We're not going to give up our land. We're not going to give up our cattle because some federal government decides that it's time to turn it over at the request of Harry Reid, that former very corrupt senator. By the way, he's the Wizard of Oz. He's still in large part control of the Democrat Party from Nevada. Mafia connected. You know, Las Vegas is a great town. The people that live there are great people. I spent a lot of time there, many months, representing Cliven Bundy in a variety of different matters. I visited Cliven over 25 times in federal prison in Pahrump, which is the modern-day equivalent of Alcatraz, high-security prison, out there at Area 51, where they used to explode atom bombs, where they have military bases with secret weapons, you know, drones and things like that. People think they've seen UFOs around there. I think it probably is true. You know, I do believe that we've probably been visited and aliens look at the way we behave and they want to find out exactly what our behavior patterns are. So someday we don't attack them if we ever get that kind of technology that we could. But in any event, I want to say this about Ryan Bundy, because he was the instrument in the lawsuit that resulted in the dismissal, that criminal prosecution. He was the fulcrum. He's a very bright guy, and he was better than any of the other lawyers representing the other parties. I was there giving advice. I was there giving consultation. I was representing Cliven strategically in a number of other cases around the country. But Ryan was the guy who really carried the ball, and he did his research, and he's smart. And, you know, after the case ended, after the indictment was dismissed with prejudice, of course, the government's now trying to reinstate it. and we're fighting that. And that shows you the duplicity, the two-faced nature of Jeff Sessions, who said he was going to review all the gross prosecutorial misconduct. I mean, the guy basically is just a toad. I mean, that's the nicest thing I can say, is that Ryan Bundy is now running for the governorship of Nevada. And that's very smart, and it's very wise. He's an independent. And go to CliveandBundyDefenseFund.org, CliveandBundyDefenseFund.org, learn about the Bundy cases. Because after the indictment was dismissed for gross prosecutorial abuse, I filed a lawsuit in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the Clark County Circuit Court to have the land declared owned by the people of Nevada. It is owned by the people of Nevada. The federal government has falsely claimed it for all these years. Ask yourself, how can you be a state if the federal government claims to own 85% of all of the land? The federal government only held that land in trust for a few years until Nevada was created, along with Arizona, Utah, and other western states. It was James Madison who said that once these states were to be created, they were to be on equal footing with other states in the United States. Go to CliveandBundyDefenseFund.org and learn about what I'm saying, because the fact that the federal government claims ownership of the land is what gave them the excuse to try to drive the Bundys off the land, to try to sell the land out from under. This was Harry Reid, to Chinese environmental interests. Harry obviously was going to get kickbacks along with his son, Rory. That's obvious. This is not Las Vegas, Nevada. This is the way things work. So the Bundys' lives were threatened. Their cattle were killed. They were persecuted for 2 years. They were kept in prison without bail by a very corrupt judge, Gloria Navarro, who was the handpicked person of Harry Reid, of course, and Barack Obama. But now Ryan is running for governor. And I want you to see what he's doing, because this is smart. The people of Nevada now will have an opportunity to see if Nevada will back our lawsuit if Ryan is governor. Because how can the people of Nevada give away 85% of their land to a federal government? And, you know, you got to live in the West to understand this. Easterners don't really understand it that much because there's not that much land that people own in the East. But the land is everything. The land, you know, if everything fails, even if there's an atomic attack or whatever somewhere, you can live off your land, assuming there's not radiation. But the reality is that the Bundy family are the salt of the earth. They're there for you, the American people. And I want you to go to CliveandBundyDefenseFund.org and support their cause, because this is not over. This is a fight for our rights. This is a fight for our land. This is a fight for our liberty, for our freedom. That's what we fought for in the days leading up to the American Revolution. This land is our land, not just in Israel with Exodus, the famous movie with Paul Newman, but in this country. This land is our land. And Ryan Bundy and the Bundy family are standing up for your rights and their rights, and the rights of all people to be free of the tyranny of a government that is out of control. I'll be right back.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
Last week I gave you a lesson on the way things work, not just in Washington, but around the country. Let me just recap. You've got these corrupt politicians, Democrat, Republican establishment. These politicians, senators from each state, plus the president, are the ones who get federal judges in office. It's patronage. The way federal judges get recommended, either they're with a big law firm, they're with a big corporation, or they're with a big labor union, depending on, what party likes which interest. Those interests donate a lot of money to the senators and the president to get elected. And then they call in the chits. They call in the cards, so to speak, as if it was a Las Vegas casino, as a matter of fact, to continue the Bundy analogy. So they get the people that they want in office. They get yes men in office. These people are beholden to them. And these judges, as they come up the line, have to, in fact, not make waves, because if you do anything that's bold, if you're Larry Klayman, okay, at this point in my career, actually at one point when I was a young lawyer, Senator from Florida, Connie Mack, said he would like to have me as a federal judge. I said, I don't want to be a federal judge. I'm an advocate. I want to be somebody who is free and independent to defend and to prosecute those people who I believe in. I don't want to split the baby in two. I'm not King Solomon. I'll take a side. This is my nature. But these judges who come up the line, notwithstanding the fact that there are, quote, legal bribes to get them in office, and maybe there are bribes that are not legal also to get them in office, they have to never say anything that will offend anybody. If they're a lower court judge and want to go to a higher court, they have to write decisions that are not controversial, so the other side, the opposing party, can't block them. And generally speaking, the opposing party can block a nomination. In recent days, that's become less likely, but it still can happen. And that's why what we get in office as federal judges are people that play it safe. They are yes men through and through. Now, sometimes judges sneak through that actually have a backbone, that have guts. And I would say in my 40-year career as a trial lawyer, I maybe have met 4 or 5 like that. Can you imagine that? In 40 years, 4 or 5 judges who have the guts to stand up for the American people. That's pathetic, because in the 40 years that I've been a trial lawyer, I must have come in contact with thousands of judges. And a lot of these judges are very politically biased. They're biased personally, depending on who you are. You know, if you're a minority or if you're a majority or whatever, if they're majority and they're a majority, they'll tend to favor you. If you're minority and they're bigoted, they'll do a number on you. I saw that with 2 judges that I came up against in the early part of my career when I was a younger man in my 40s and in my 30s. And that's what caused me to start Judicial Watch at the time. Name Judicial Watch, watching judges. You see, that's where it came from. So this is what we've got on the bench. And therefore, to be able to break through sometimes, people have always asked me, Larry, why do you file so many lawsuits? And I said, because, if 1 in 10 gets through, that's a major victory. It's like a MIRV missile with a nuclear missile, that Russia may have or that we may have. 10 warheads. They may not all get through, but if 1 gets through, you'll get the job done. Not that we want the world to blow up. We don't. But I'm just using that as an analogy. So you've got judges who are politically compromised and corrupt. You've got corrupt politicians. And then you've got an executive branch that until now has been run by a bunch of establishment people, whether it's the Kennedy dynasty, the Clinton dynasty, or the Bush dynasty. These people think they're holier than thou. They think they're better than we are. They think they're above the American people, that they have all the answers. They can go to all the parties here in Washington, D.C. They can go around and give speeches for $400,000 or $500,000 after they leave office. Obama, for instance, lives in a mansion, $8 million. He was always taking shots at whites and everybody else, rich whites. Well, you know what? You're ripping these minority people off. You know what? Well, maybe some of them are. But he's ripping off everybody now. Where does he get the $8 million? Because he's so corrupt that he's taking it from George Soros, or that he's selling his services as a former president to cash in? It's not just actual corruption. It's the way you handle your life. I'm not asking that politicians to become priests or rabbis or ministers, but you know what? You don't trade off the American people. The American people are smarter than that. And that's why I want to tell you something that's happened this week that I think tells me everything. Back in 2014, when Edward Snowden revealed that there was mass surveillance on the American people by the National Security Agency, of which he was a contractor, I filed lawsuits, and I won. They were assigned to a judge, Richard J. Leon, a Republican appointee, appointed, I believe it was, by George W. Bush, and I succeeded. I was able to get preliminary injunctions that found that this mass surveillance on the American people, without probable cause, in violation of the Fourth Amendment, which prevents unreasonable searches and seizures, that was unconstitutional and must stop. That was the push for the Congress then to cover their own backsides to amend the Patriot Act, Section 215 of the Patriot Act, with a USA Freedom Act. This was a new law, which said that the National Security Agency couldn't hold all of this secret surveillance. Because, the National Security Agency picks up every telephone call, every internet communication, every social media communication on Facebook or whatever, and they hold it for at least 5 years in the supercomputer in Utah. And what the Freedom Act did was to require some protections that information could not be accessed without some probable cause. And what happened then? We found out that the National Security Agency, even though the law had changed, was violating the USA Freedom Act, because we know what they did with the Trump the Trump campaign in the years leading up to 2016. That was 2 years after I won these court victories. These were the biggest victories ever in the history of government litigation. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. And I was very thankful to Judge Leon. Well, a few years later, and actually, let me say this, it restored my faith to some extent in the court system and the justice system, because at least there was a judge like Richard Leon, I said. At least there's somebody out there. There's another one over in D.C. called Royce Lamberth, who's a lot like Leon. But in recent history, those are the only two I've found that had guts. Lamberth was the one who made all the rulings against Clintons in the 1990s. But everybody else on this court is politically corrupt. But I figured, okay, there's Leon. Now, a few years later, my cell phone starts to do really strange things after I begin to publicize that I have another whistleblower who, in fact, has more information than Edward Snowden, and his name was Dennis Montgomery. And go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org, and read about that. Montgomery was an NSA, CIA, FBI contractor. He left with 47 hard drives, 600 million pages of information, some of it classified. I've never seen it. Through Judge Lamberth, who's one of the only people I trust in Washington, D.C., I think he's the only person, actually, we went to the FBI, we went to Comey, and we got Montgomery immunity through the U.S. attorney here to turn over all of his information, because that information shows not just that Trump was being illegally surveyed long before the 2016 election campaign, but that also other people were being surveyed. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, other justices, 156 judges, yours truly. Anybody that challenged the government was being spied upon illegally. It was the deep state. It was the enemy of the state that my friend David Marconi wrote about in the great movie, Enemy of the State, with Gene Hackman and Will Smith. This, in fact, came true. And therefore, when I came forward with Montgomery to explain what was happening to Trump, because Trump had said, President had said, I've been wiretapped. And I said, that's right, you have been. Here's Montgomery. I went to the House Intelligence Committee. I went to the Senate Intelligence Committee. They didn't want to listen. I went to other agencies. They didn't want to listen. I went to Congress. They did nothing. I went to the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Bob Goodlatte, sat there twiddling his thumbs, doing nothing. These people are frauds, okay? They're just out there playing the game. But nobody wanted to listen to Montgomery. But anyway, all the publicity that was generated, I was doing a lot of interviews. Strange things happened on my cell phone. My files were being downloaded. Pictures were rotating without my putting any kind of a rotation thing in it. You know, you can do that with your phone. I went to Verizon 3 times. I said, do you know what's happening? He said, we can't explain this. I use Verizon. And Dennis Montgomery's computer, they attempted to hack it several times. Dennis is a computer genius. He knows when that's happening. So I filed another lawsuit for Dennis Montgomery and for me against the Obama administration, the NSA, against Comey, against the CIA. And I thought I had it assigned to Richard Leon as a related case. The prior cases, him having ruled in my favor. Well, here's what I think what happened in the interim. I went in there on an emergency basis. I asked for a temporary restraining order. I asked for a preliminary injunction like I did the first time. Judge Leon said to me, look, if you merge the temporary restraining orders, requires a very quick decision, with your motion for preliminary injunction, I'll adjudicate this quickly. So I agreed. Well, what happened then? Leon didn't adjudicate it for nearly a year. He sat on it, inexplicably. And just this week, he dismissed the case, claiming that it had no merit. Now, he can't do that legally. It was totally a corrupt, illegal decision, because I actually had affidavits, I had all kinds of proof that Montgomery and I were being illegally surveyed. But in the early part of a lawsuit, if a plaintiff makes a claim and the other side can't conclusively rebut that claim, then it has to continue on. And I asked for discovery. I said, Your Honor, you can't even consider dismissing this case until we take some discovery of the NSA, of the CIA, of the FBI, of Comey, and others. depositions, interrogatories, and if it involves classified information, because some of it is what Montgomery turned over, you can do it in camera in your office. I don't even have to be there, Your Honor. We'll trust you. You have a security clearance. You can do this. You have a top secret security clearance. But you can't dismiss the case before you actually allow discovery. Well, he did it, and it was completely a phony decision. And I think what happened here is that he got cold feet. Not only has he been criticized, but Montgomery will tell you, they've got stuff on this judge, the National Security Agency and the CIA. I think they blackmailed him. And I think they said to him, go ahead and allow Klayman and Montgomery to continue, and we'll destroy you. And that's the country we live in today. It's a reality. It's happening to President Trump. It's happening to other people that challenge the government, these sissies up on Capitol Hill that do stuff just to get on Fox News, you know, whether it's Trey Gowdy or whether it's Bob Goodlatte of the Judiciary Committee or anybody else, gets them reelected, gets them raise money, but nothing ever gets beyond Fox News. I'm getting so tired of watching Sean Hannity, and I agree what he's saying, you know, making predictions that something's going to happen. I'm getting tired of other people saying the same thing, because nothing's going to happen until we break through the inherent corruption in the judiciary, in the legislative branch of government, and in the executive branch of government. And President Trump is our one hope. He's willing to call it like it is. He's willing to take it to the mat. If he doesn't succeed, the heck with it. And that's the way I am. I think I'm a lot like President Trump. I do. I'm not trying to feather my own nest. I'm not saying that he's perfect or I'm perfect. Sometimes we do things that maybe we do a different way, say things that we'd say a different way. But this president, frankly, I believe, can be even a greater president than Ronald Reagan in our time, because he's not beholden to that establishment. And he's got to start doing it for himself. He's got to swing for the fences, and whatever happens, happens. Because if he doesn't swing for the fences, we are going into another violent revolution. The American people are getting smart. They realize that this government does not represent them, whether you're the Bundys or anybody else. They've broken away from the American people. We face threats in North Korea, Iran, all around the world. And we don't have a government that's honest with us, and we have a government that's spying on us. And if anybody says anything that they consider to be a threat, they'll use the spying powers and other powers to get rid of them. And we know during the Clinton years, 80 people died in and around that administration. So go to freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org. Contribute to our cause. We're your only hope. You know, my former group, Judicial Watch, they get documents, but what good are documents? You have to bring strong, hard-hitting actions here. And I'm using whatever means I can. And that's why I want to be appointed special counsel, because I will get the job done. I'll have the full powers of the Justice Department. I'm not a sissy. I'm not a coward. I'm not Jeff Sessions. I'm not Rod Rosenstein. I'm Larry Klayman. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. Support our cause. Frankly, I'm your last hope. I'll be right back with more.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
Let me explain to you the powers that I would have as special counsel. I want you to understand why I can get the job done, why I can clean out the rat's nest here in Washington and around the country. If I am appointed special counsel, and you know I'm a former Justice Department prosecutor and defense lawyer, I did both, I will have all the powers of the Justice Department. I will immediately impanel a grand jury, maybe more than one. I will hire a staff that isn't corrupted like Mueller's staff. I will hire neutral staff that actually obey the law. And we will then send out grand jury subpoenas. We'll bring people in front of the grand jury. What's the grand jury? 18 normal people in the United States, people, peers, our peers, who will make decisions. And I will gather the information that we know is out there. I'll gather the information about the corruption of Robert Mueller. We'll have him indicted for leaking all this grand jury information about President Trump. This guy should be put away for the rest of his life. He's a complete establishment hack. I will indict Comey, James Comey, for all of the underhanded illegal wiretapping that he did on Trump with his corrupt agents, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and others in the Obama administration. I will indict President Obama himself because he's obviously behind this. We will find evidence of that. Let's put this guy away where the sun don't shine. I will indict former CIA Director John Brennan. John Brennan, who used the CIA to legally spy not just Trump, but everybody in support of the Obama administration. By the way, it's not just a rumor, but people believe that he's a convert to Islam. And obviously you don't want somebody in charge of the CIA who is. He had a prayer rug, apparently, in his office. That's what Homeland, they actually had a series built after that to some extent. James Clapper, who lied about illegal surveillance when called upon by the Senate Intelligence Committee. Democrat Senator Ron Wyden uncovered his lying, in fact, a Democrat of all people. So, and let's not forget about Hillary Clinton. Let's not forget the Clintons, their corrupt foundation, the illegal destruction of 33,000 email, the insecure server which resulted in the death of the sons of two of my clients, Ty Woods and Patricia Smith. These are the criminals that need to be held accountable. We need to clean out this rat's nest, just like we did in 1776. We cleaned out the rat's nest of King George III that was in this country, and we created a new country. Now, look, we've got a great country. We've got the vision of our founding fathers. We got what they created in my birthplace of Philadelphia. We've got, many years, 200-some years where this country functioned. But it doesn't function anymore. And it was Jefferson and Adams that said, we're only as good as the people who run the country. It doesn't matter how many times you change your rulers or your forms of government. Without ethics, morality, and religion, you will not have lasting liberty. So it's time that peacefully we clean out, frankly, all the crap here in Washington. These people are scum. They're absolutely scum on all sides, Democrat and Republican. They're a bunch of frauds. The American people know it. And we need to indict the people who are bringing this country down and have it rise up again in the vision of our founding fathers. So go to freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org. Contribute to our cause. We need to hire more people. We need to ramp up. We are your private justice department. And I need to be named special counsel because I'll get the job done. No one else in this country will do it. I believe that from the bottom of my heart. And I need your help to do it. I need God's help to do it, too, because it would be a miracle if I was appointed. Because generally, they don't want somebody in there that'll do the job. They want somebody in there that'll be their yes men and let them continue to be money changers in the temple here in Washington, D.C., Democrats and Republicans establishment stuffing money into their pockets. This city never has a recession. It always goes up economically. It's a scandal in and of itself. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. We need 100,000 signatures to get me appointed special counsel. Sign that. Contribute financially to our cause. We need your help. We cannot let this country go down because we are the last hope, not just of the American people, but we're the last hope of the world. Armageddon will be upon us if this country goes down. And I'll tell you something, all hell's going to break loose in this world if the United States goes down the drain. And we need a president like President Trump who will do what needs to be done. We cannot allow him to be destroyed. So go to freedomwatchusa.org, sign the petition to be made special counsel, contribute to Freedom Watch. I'll be back next week with more. I know I'm getting more upset every week, but you have to get upset too. Just watch cable news and you'll see why we need to take action now. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America.